The video evidence is in, and it completely destroys what the Department of Homeland Security has been telling us about the killing of Alex Pretti. Bellingcat, the gold standard investigative journalism site, just released their analysis. The Washington Post did their own independent forensic video examination. Local news stations brought in forensic experts, and they all found the same thing. A Border Patrol agent removed Alex Pretty's gun from his waistband. The agent stepped back with the gun in his hand. Less than 1 second later, a different agent fired the first shot. Alex Pretti was shot and killed after being disarmed. If you're new here, I'm Jordan Vale, and we're building a community of people who refuse to stand by while democracy is under attack. We need voices like yours in this fight, so hit that subscribe button. Let me start with the sources because this is critical. When multiple independent investigations all reach the same conclusion from different angles of video, that's as close to ironclad as you can get. Bellingcat is the gold standard for video analysis. This is the Netherlands-based investigative journalism site that documents war crimes. Legal expert Ryan Goodman posted their findings and said Bellingcat is gold standard. According to Raw Story's reporting on the Bellingcat investigation, they took what they called a very close look at the killing of ICU nurse Alex Pretti. Their findings clearly contradict the DHS narrative that he was shot only after brandishing a deadly firearm at agents. Here's what Bellingcat found. Video of the shooting appears to show that a gun was taken from the man before the first shot was fired, at least 10 shots being heard in total. They note, most of them are fired after a brief delay, when the man is already lying motionless on the ground. The report states that an agent appears to have removed the firearm from its concealed position on the victim before retreating with it, all prior to the first shot being fired. Now that's Bellingcat. But the Washington Post did their own independent analysis. From the Washington Post's live updates yesterday, a Washington Post analysis of videos that captured the incident from several angles found that federal agents removed a handgun from Pretty's back near his waistband moments before he was shot multiple times. And in their full investigations article, the Post reported federal agents who were wrestling a man to the ground in Minneapolis early Saturday secured a handgun he was carrying moments before shooting him multiple times, according to a Washington Post analysis of videos that captured the incident from several angles. Here's the key detail from the Post. As many as 8 agents were attempting to detain Alex Pretti. Videos show one emerged from the scrum holding Pretty's gun, and less than a second later, the first of what appeared to be 10 shots was fired. Less than 1 second. And local news stations verified this too. KSTP, the local ABC affiliate, brought in forensic analyst Eric Dorr. Dorr analyzed the video and the gun that DHS posted on social media. He said the Sig Sauer firearm with the optic, same coloring, matched perfectly. So it seems reasonable to believe that firearm that they took a photo of was removed from Pretti prior to the shots being used. The gun DHS posted as evidence of Pretti being armed? That's the gun the agent is holding in the video before the shooting began. So we have Bellingcat, the Washington Post, and local forensic analysts all reaching the same conclusion from multiple angles of video. The gun was removed before the shooting. This investigation is ongoing, but the video evidence already tells us something critical. Now let me walk you through what the video actually shows, step by step. According to Al Jazeera's reporting on bystander videos verified by Reuters, Pretti was holding a mobile phone in his hand, not a gun, as he tries to help other protesters who have been pushed to the ground by federal agents. As the videos begin, Pretti can be seen filming as a federal agent pushes away one woman and shoves another to the ground. Journalist Susan Glasser described what the video shows. The final act of his life was trying to help a woman who was being physically assaulted by the masked agents who would then kill him. So Pretti moves between the agent and the women. He raises his left arm to shield himself as the agent pepper sprays him. Then, according to NPR, footage appears to show Pretti being surrounded by multiple federal agents, with several restraining him and punching him while he is on the ground before he is shot. Al Jazeera reported several agents then take hold of Pretti, who struggles with them, and force him onto his hands and knees. As the agents pin down Pretti, someone shouts what sounds like a warning about the presence of a gun. And here's the critical moment. Al Jazeera reported video footage then appears to show one of the agents removing a gun from Pretti and stepping away from the group with it. Yahoo News provided detailed description of another angle. They reported another officer who appears to approach the scuffle with empty hands pulls back with what appears to be a gun in his hand. As he moves away toward a vehicle, a split second later, another agent standing beside him opens fire.
They killed him? Did they kill him? Let's go around.
An individual approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. The officers attempted to disarm this individual, but the armed suspect reacted violently. Fearing for his life and for the lives of his fellow officers around him, an agent fired defensive shots. This individual showed up to impede a law enforcement operation and assaulted our officers. They responded according to their training and took action to defend the officer's life and those of the public around him.
Did you catch that? The agent who removed the gun had empty hands when he approached. He pulls back with the gun, and a split second later, a different agent opens fire. According to Al Jazeera, moments later, an officer points his handgun at Pretty's back and fires 4 shots at him in quick succession. Several more shots are then heard as another agent also appears to fire at Pretty. The Washington Post noted, it is not clear whether the other agents realized Pretty had been disarmed. Yahoo News reported, the agents jump back from the man lying on the ground and the firing continues. A total of 10 gunshots are heard. And remember what Bellingcat found. Most of the shots are fired after a brief delay, when the man is already lying motionless on the ground. The New York Times reported, several agents wrestled the man onto the sidewalk. One officer struck him with an object, and then 10 shots were fired within 5 seconds. 10 shots were fired in roughly 5 seconds, and according to the video analysis, most of them fired after Pretty was already motionless. Now let me show you what DHS has been claiming, and you tell me if it matches what the video shows. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem said Pretty wasn't there to peacefully protest. She said he was there to perpetuate violence. She called his actions domestic terrorism. Noem said, I don't know of any peaceful protester that shows up with a gun and ammunition rather than a sign. Border Patrol Commander Gregory Bovino claimed Pretty wanted to do maximum damage and massacre law enforcement. He said Pretty approached U.S. Border Patrol agents with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. Bovino's statement said the agents attempted to disarm the individual, but he violently resisted. Fearing for his life and the lives and safety of fellow officers, a Border Patrol agent fired defensive shots. And Stephen Miller, hours after the shooting and before any investigation concluded, called Pretty a domestic terrorist who tried to assassinate federal law enforcement. So that's what DHS claims. Now let's contrast that with what the video actually shows. DHS says Pretty approached agents with a gun. Video verified by Reuters and Al Jazeera shows him holding a phone, not a gun. DHS says he was there to perpetuate violence. Video shows him trying to help a woman who was pushed to the ground by an agent. DHS says agents attempted to disarm him and he violently resisted. Video shows agents removed his gun and less than 1 second later, a different agent started shooting. DHS says defensive shots. Video analysis from Bellingcat shows most shots fired after Pretti was already motionless on the ground. According to Al Jazeera, two witnesses who immediately filed sworn statements before the U.S. District Court of Minnesota said Pretti did not brandish a gun during the incident. And one witness, a doctor, said in court documents that Pretti sustained at least 3 gunshot wounds in his back. He was shot in the back, while motionless, after being disarmed. Now, on Saturday, Border Patrol Commander Bovino held a press conference, and what happened when a reporter asked him a direct question tells you everything. According to Common Dreams, a reporter asked Bovino to specify when exactly Pretti allegedly pulled his gun. Bovino's response: "That is definitely part of the investigation, and any further questions will come out in time." Then, according to Daily Beast, after only 2 questions, Bovino abruptly shut down the press conference. He walked away, wouldn't answer any more questions. 2 questions, then he fled. Governor Tim Walz responded to DHS's claims directly. According to Common Dreams, Walz told reporters, "I'm not going to believe the nonsense and lies they're telling us. They're asking us not to trust our eyes and our ears and trust them." At a press conference, Walz said the federal government is waging a campaign of organized brutality against the people of Minnesota. And yesterday, something remarkable happened. A federal judge intervened. According to CBS Minnesota, a federal judge issued a temporary restraining order blocking the Trump administration from destroying or altering any evidence related to Alex Pretti's shooting. The order came from U.S. District Judge Susan Richard Nelson, who was appointed by George W. Bush. According to the Minnesota Reformer, this is a Trump-friendly judge who sided with the state. The order says federal agents are prohibited from destroying or concealing physical evidence, bodily remains, investigative materials, or communications that defendants have taken into their exclusive custody. Think about that. A federal judge had to issue an order preventing the government from destroying evidence of a shooting they claim was justified. Why would you need an order like that unless there's concern about evidence being destroyed? The lawsuit was filed by Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty and the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. The defendants named include DHS, ICE, CBP, U.S. Border Control, and Attorney General Pam Bondi, Minnesota. Attorney General Keith Ellison said, "Federal agents are not above the law, and Alex Pretti is certainly not beneath it. A full, impartial, and transparent investigation into his fatal shooting at the hands of DHS agents is non-negotiable." And here's what makes this even more disturbing. State investigators tried to access the crime scene. Again. According to KSTP, Homeland Security officials again prevented state investigators from inspecting the scene where Pretti was fatally shot. Federal authorities did the same thing after an ICE agent fatally shot Renee Good earlier this month. CBS Minnesota reported the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension said DHS representatives blocked them from accessing the scene of the shooting, even though the Bureau had obtained a judge's signed search warrant. They had a signed search warrant from a judge, and federal agents still blocked them. Now let me talk about why this matters under use of force law. According to DHS's own use of force policy, ICE and CBP agents may use deadly force only when they have a reasonable belief that a subject poses an imminent threat of death or serious bodily injury. Imminent threat, that's the standard. What does the video show? The gun was already removed from Pretti, so he's not armed. Pretti was motionless on the ground, so he's not a threat. The agent who removed the gun had his back turned when the first shot was fired, according to Yahoo News, so that agent wasn't under threat, and most shots were fired after Pretti was motionless, so those definitely weren't defensive. A disarmed man lying motionless on the pavement does not meet the standard for imminent threat. Let me remind you who Alex Pretti was. He was a 37-year-old ICU nurse at the Minneapolis VA hospital. He graduated from the University of Minnesota. He was a U.S. citizen and Minneapolis resident. He had a legal permit to carry a firearm. His only criminal record was traffic tickets. According to the American Federation of Government Employees Union, he devoted his life to caring for our veterans. His father, Michael Pretti, told NPR he cared about people deeply, and he was very upset with what was happening in Minneapolis and throughout the United States with ICE. Dr. Dmitry Drakonja, Pretty's colleague at the Minneapolis VA, said, "There is no reason for a guy like that to be dead, let alone to be killed by the agents of a government that employed him. He was a sweet, kind man who loved the outdoors and mountain biking." The family released a statement Saturday evening. According to Al Jazeera, they said they are heartbroken, but also very angry, and called him a kind-hearted soul who wanted to make a difference in the world through his work as a nurse. The family said, "The sickening lies told about our son by the administration are reprehensible and disgusting." The family's anger only intensified as more footage emerged. In their full statement reported by Fox News, the family said, "Alex is clearly not holding a gun when attacked by Trump's murdering and cowardly ICE thugs. He has his phone in his right hand and his empty left hand is raised above his head while trying to protect the woman ICE just pushed down, all while being pepper sprayed. Please get the truth out about our son. He was a good man." Now I need you to understand the pattern here. This is the third shooting involving federal agents in Minneapolis in 17 days. January 7th, Renee Good, 37, mother of three, shot and killed by ICE officer Jonathan Ross. January 11th, Julio Cesar Sosa Celis, shot in the leg by federal agents. January 24th, Alex Pretti shot and killed by a Border Patrol agent. And according to Al Jazeera, Pretti is at least the sixth person to die during ICE enforcement efforts nationwide since last year. The incident was one of at least 5 shootings in January involving federal agents conducting anti-immigration operations. This shooting happened one day after the largest strike Minnesota has seen since 1934. 700 businesses shut down. 50,000 to 100,000 people participated. Thousands marched in minus 25-degree Fahrenheit wind chills. So, let me put this all together. Multiple independent video analyses from gold standard sources all confirm the same sequence. Alex Pretti was filming with his phone. He tried to help a woman who was pushed down by an agent. Agents pepper sprayed him, swarmed him, forced him to the ground. An agent removed Pretty's gun from his waistband and stepped back with it in his hand. Less than 1 second later, a different agent fired the first shot. 10 total shots were fired, most of them after Pretti was already motionless on the ground. DHS claims Pretti approached them with a gun and wanted to massacre law enforcement. Video shows he was holding a phone and was already disarmed before the shooting began. When asked to specify when Pretti pulled his gun, Commander Bovino shut down the press conference after 2 questions. A federal judge had to issue an order preventing the government from destroying evidence. State investigators with a signed search warrant were blocked from the crime scene, again. And the family is calling the administration's claims sickening lies. Here's my question. If the shooting was justified, why shut down the press conference? If the evidence supports your story, why block state investigators? If you're telling the truth, why does a judge need to order you not to destroy evidence? The video evidence is ironclad. Bellingcat, The Washington Post, local forensic analysts, they all analyzed different angles and reached the same conclusion. The gun was removed before the shooting. And if DHS's claims are contradicted by the video evidence, what else are they misrepresenting? Let me know what you think in the comments. Does the video evidence change your understanding of what happened? Should state investigators be allowed to examine crime scenes even when federal agents are involved? And what does it mean that this is the third shooting in 17 days? Share this video. The video evidence needs to be seen. People need to understand the discrepancy between what DHS claimed and what actually happened. We're building something here, a community that demands evidence, that questions official narratives when they don't match the facts, that refuses to accept lies even when they come from the highest levels of government.
Thanks for spending a few minutes digging into this with me. If you want more grounded, progressive commentary without the outrage bait, subscribe and stick around. Every time you watch, share, and engage, it helps build a community that believes democracy is worth understanding and defending. I'll see you in the next video.